Good morning. Something is turning 100, and we want to learn more about that because it's something you'll probably need, not for very long, but when you need it, you really want it bad. So today we have on Convalescent Aid Society, and they're having their 100th birthday celebrating as an organization, and we're going to talk with Mark Watterson. We're also going to talk with Steve McCullough. He's got a great caregiver question. Of course, we kind of skewed it according to, we've looked through our list of listeners, viewers' questions, and we kind of skewed it towards Mark's services a little bit. But let's go ahead and we are going to bring Steve in and have that question asked. Morning, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm great. Yeah, really good.
We made it through another week.
Another week. Gosh, we're mid-September. I can't even believe it.
Right?
Yeah, pretty crazy. So tell us, what question did we get today?
Sure. A question comes from one of our viewers. They want to know how they could have temporarily reserve a wheelchair. They don't need it long term, but they do need it short term. They don't want to store it or pay a lot of money, and they want to know what their options are.
Very good question. And we will have the wonderful Mark Watterson on from Convalescent Aid Society. And if you live in the Southern California, San Gabriel Valley, San Fernando Valley area, you can reach out to them and you can get whatever equipment they have on loan for as long as you need it. And then you can return it and let somebody else use it. So whether you need crutches or maybe they have a hospital bed in place, you can borrow that. They have tons of walkers and bedside commodes and all kinds of things that just help make people's lives easier. We call that DME, also known as durable medical equipment. Sometimes you can get that covered under your insurance. So that's why so many of them are sitting around after somebody doesn't need them anymore. But you can get wheelchairs and different things covered through your insurance, or temporarily they'll cover a hospital bed, almost like a rental. So look to your doctor to see if you can get something that way through an order, but especially if you're just needing to borrow it and you don't need it for very long and you certainly don't want to store it afterwards. Or if you do get it from your doctor and you don't want to store it afterwards, you can call Convalescent Aid Society. So let me go ahead and I'll bring Mark in and we'll hear about your day in sports soon.
Sounds good. Have a great show.
All right. Thanks. Yeah, let's go ahead and we'll bring Mark in. It's really exciting because they have their 100th birthday coming up. And I want to make sure that they get their information out and share a little bit more about what's going on and who's benefiting from that. Hi, Mark. How are you? Oh, I've got you on mute still here, so let me take you off of mute. There you go. Now you can speak and we can hear you.
There we go. Nice to see you, Mary.
You too. Yeah, so we were just talking about our caregiver question was, how can I get that wheelchair that I don't need for long term? And of course, you're a perfect option for that, getting any kind of medical equipment. I'm sure you've had some crazy things too. So why don't you share the kinds of things or the kind of the process that people would go through if they need some medical equipment?
Yeah, well, I was listening to your description and you pretty much nailed it. So I can probably just excuse myself and you can finish up the show without me.
All right.
No, our process is very simple. We have about a 5-minute application. If you live, as you mentioned, in the San Gabriel or San Fernando Valleys out here, you hop online, you put your zip code in to make sure that you're in one of our, service area locations. It's a very simple application, name, address, stuff like that. And then you go to a shopping cart and you can pick out the items that you want. Wheelchairs, you mentioned hospital beds. We have a huge inventory of hospital beds. Walkers,
That's
the rollator kind. Yeah. I mean, obviously all of our stuff is sort of, our availability is contingent on what's been donated into us because, again, as you said, oftentimes people get some pieces of equipment through other sources, through Medicare or private insurance. And when they're done with it, rather than have it sit around or even worse, throw it out, we like to accept those in donation. and we'll sanitize everything and make slight repairs if we have to, and then we turn around and loan them back out. So there are situations where we run low on some category, but primarily we have all of the main items that are listed on our website available and in stock and ready to be picked up very quickly.
Do you have a waiting list for things too? I think I recall something that one of our clients needed, and we went on a waiting list for it and got it within a week or so.
Yeah, so thank you for asking that. So because our system is all automated and it's online, most of the time we have everything. But if there's an odd item, sometimes bariatric pieces of equipment are hard to come by. So, be something like that. What is it? We ran low on overbed hospital tables a couple months ago. So yes, you still put it in your cart and it'll say, would you like to be added to the waiting list if we don't have it in stock immediately. And then you get an email when one comes in, and you've got a window of time then to reserve it and come pick it up. But that's the other cool thing too, Mary, about our process is it's so easy to borrow equipment.
It is.
I mentioned the application is 5 minutes. We set you up with an appointment time. Just like if you go to Best Buy or Target and you've ordered something, we will bring it out to you. We will load it in your car. You literally do not have to get out of your car. So you spent 5 minutes to get a piece of equipment and you haven't had to get out of your car. So it's a really great system, super easy. And I'm so thankful for you mentioning that we accept donated items, because that's kind of how, we continue to operate.
Yeah, and what's great too is I know you have a process and you have the person that you need to, get the information from, but you made it really easy for care managers too. So
we're partners in this. I mean,
we have several clients that, we're using our name or the client with the client name. You've made it so simple for us too. And I've really appreciated that as well. Because it becomes confusing when one person is coming and getting multiple things for different people, and you guys have made it really simple for us.
Well, I mean, you work in this business, so you understand how important it is that we work together to provide healthcare for our community. It is not possible for any one person to navigate the system by themselves without any help. I mean, that's just the reality of it. So it's incumbent upon us who are in the industry to make it as easy as possible to work together. So yeah, we try to partner with, senior care providers, whether it's, someone like you in your position, long-term care facilities. We have great relationships with a lot of the places in the two valleys that we serve. Obviously the hospitals, we're great partners. We try to be great partners for the hospitals who discharge patients directly to us so that they can go home and recuperate at home. So yeah, it takes it's silly to say, but it takes a village, right?
Yeah, it does. And I think you're also so unique to just these two valleys. And I know March of Dimes does some things in other areas, but I mean, we are really fortunate to have you guys in our backseat, our neighborhoods. So
yeah, and I will say, I mean, honestly, anyone who is trying to provide help, I'm not going to disparage anyone, but one of the things that's really unique about Convalescent Aid Society is that any piece of medical equipment that you borrow from us is essentially like new. We have a machine in our warehouse that sanitizes every piece of equipment that goes out. So it is designed specifically to sanitize. You used the term earlier, durable medical equipment. It has a chemical mix it's like a big dishwasher. So any piece of equipment that goes home in a home, it's essentially completely sanitized. You're not going to get any issues. And that's not necessarily the case if you pick up a toilet seat or something, at a garage sale.
Well, at garage sales, and let's face it too. I mean, there are a lot of other locations, and when somebody sees something they don't know you're around, you go into a thrift store, they sell things like that, and kind of expensive too. And
wasteful. I mean, you think about how much we have a stat that we compiled a few years ago. I mean, there are hundreds of millions of tons of medical equipment waste that goes into landfills worldwide every year. And obviously we're only catching the part of the medical waste that would go into landfill in Southern California, but it's still dozens of tons of equipment every year. If you think about how much a hospital bed weighs or how much the wheelchairs weigh, the materials that were necessary to manufacture and then to transport, like all of that stuff is wasteful. So even if you you're like, oh, I want a brand new piece of equipment. I mean, you need to think about the journey that equipment needs to take in order to get to your house, and how wasteful it could be for someone, to have that manufactured just to get it to your house.
Right. And especially when you need something temporarily, it's perfect. I love that the hospitals are really thinking outside of the box, and it's not as much a cost savings to your insurance so much as it is so wasteful. So can we reuse? And I mean, I love that the kids nowadays are going out and doing a lot of thrifting at the stores, and they look dynamite wearing these fun little outfits that they're picking out. But how many things do we need to purchase, or how many things do we need to make for everyone to wear or use? And medical equipment is no different.
For sure.
So the other thing that's also share a bit about your San Fernando site, your San Fernando Valley site.
Yeah, so you said earlier, we're celebrating our 100th anniversary this year. We were founded in 1923. We've primarily been in this valley, in the San Gabriel Valley, in the greater Pasadena area this whole time. But there are not other agencies like us in Southern California to the size and scale that we operate. And so we've sort of been thinking for a few years on how can we continue to serve people. We have a method that is efficient. It works seamlessly. We've become really good partners with the healthcare sort of ecosystem. So how can we, do a better job of that? And the answer was to find an area that has a need that isn't being served. And after compiling a whole lot of data, we hired some consultants, and we analyzed discharge data from patients, and we looked at demographic information, and we realized that there's actually 30 or 40, I'm looking at this map on the wall that I have, which we kind of plotted everything out, but there's 30 or 40 more 30 or 40% more discharges, hospital discharges in the San Fernando Valley, from San Fernando Valley hospitals, as opposed to San Gabriel Valley hospitals. So there's actually more of a need in the San Fernando Valley for what we do. And we expect that once we open our building, we're about to start the renovation. We bought the building. We're going to try to break ground on our renovation next month. And we should be fully open in early 2024. But we could potentially in a few years be serving more people out of that new location than out of Pasadena, where we've been for 100 years.
Yeah, no, sounds like it. Mark, do you know why the statistics are so much higher? Is it more populated there, or is there more need for healthcare services in that area?
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, it depends on how you draw the circle, but yeah, there are more people over there, and there's just more hospitals.
That's true. Yeah. We don't have as many hospitals there. Really fascinating. Great too that you're offering that, and how wonderful to be able to break ground the month of your 100th anniversary. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we every year we do a fundraiser like most nonprofits, but ours has a garden party theme. So it's not the typical you go into a ballroom and you sit at a table and you eat sort of the chicken or the fish sort of thing. We've always tried to do something that was a little bit more relaxed and just enjoyable for people who want to have a fun outdoorsy experience in the fall. So we are on October 29th. We have it's a Sunday afternoon from 4 to 7. We're calling it our Centennial Celebration, and it's going to be at Castle Green in Pasadena. And there's a nice synergy there because our very first location was in the Castle Green property in 1923. So it's like we're going back to the scene of the crime to celebrate.
Oh, wow, how great. Well, and Castle Green has an amazing history as well. Maybe I could find a little picture of that before we take off here today.
Yeah.
Because it's a really fascinating location.
Very cool architecture. It's just it's one of those Pasadena landmarks that people sort of recognize pretty easily.
Yeah, really fun. So you have sponsorship opportunities for people to be involved. You have tickets. How do people get a hold of you? I've got your website down below here with your email address. So why don't you share that with us so that if anybody's driving and listening, they can get your information and hear a little bit about the sponsorship or some of the opportunities to either attend or to be part of your support.
Sure. Well, I would say, I gave the website or I think I gave the website, but it's there, convalescentaidssociety.com, or just search free durable medical equipment or free DME or free medical equipment in your Google, and we will come up with the top result, which will take you to our website, and you can borrow equipment that way, but you can also get information about our event there. Anyone who's watching this, if you're interested in coming or you're interested in sponsoring or donating, you can just shoot me an email and I'll take care of you. Mark at cas1.org. We're selling tickets, yes, but we also, just because it's such a monumental event, if someone's really interested in coming and they don't feel like they can afford the ticket, I'll work with you. And we just like to have a good crowd there. We wanted to have a good energy. So, I encourage anyone that's interested to just reach out to me and we'll figure something out.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, the last one I went to was fantastic. It was beautiful outside, great weather in the fall, and just an easy flow, and really fun to see people too when you haven't seen people during COVID and so forth.
Yeah, well, I will say this, Mary, the one you went to, I was more in charge. Like I was more kind of MC, like I was kind of leading the program. So just so everyone knows, I will not be doing that this year. We have someone else. We have a professional who's doing it. So, I'm sure that was one of the downsides to you coming last time. But just know, I'm not. That wasn't a downside. I'm not going to be as involved next time. It'll be way better.
All right. Okay. Sounds great.
There's a question in the chat. Do you want me to answer the?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Ginny. Hi, Ginny, by the way. I know Ginny. She's awesome. She's asking if we accept adaptive vans or cars.
Oh, yeah.
We do not, but we do have a referral. So we usually refer people to Mobility Works, which is also here in Pasadena. It's such a specialized thing. In fact, even our hospital beds, they're semi-electric. So if you go into a hospital, you know this, but if anyone's watching this, you go into a hospital, those hospital beds cost more than cars. They're, super fancy. Ours are several steps down. They're still incredibly functional, but easier to repair if something goes wrong. When you get to like an adaptive vehicle, it's too difficult for us to manage the repair on something like that. So we've got a good referral partner here locally. If anyone has something that they want to donate, again, you can just reach out to me and I'd be happy to make the connection. And whether it's a mobility van or something, or any other medical piece of equipment that you're thinking about donating, reach out to me first, because I have a whole network of agencies that will take things. Even if it's not something that we can use, you can pretty much guarantee I've been asked over the years what to do with something X, Y, or Z, and I can get you to the right place. So I'm happy to be the resource that gets equipment, because even though we can't maybe necessarily use everything, I believe in the larger idea of just being good stewards of our resources. And I want to make sure that if stuff can be reused, even if it's not something we can take, that it gets to the right place. So I'm your guy. Let me help.
Great. Yeah, no, I know we have some odds and ends in our office, and oftentimes we just bring them right on over to you. But I know some of the disposables are not necessarily something that you take. So sometimes we wait to pass those off to the right person.
Yeah.
And sometimes they sit around in our storage and we go, oh, we need to move this on to someone. So
for you, if you need to go directly to that agency, I can tell you where to go. But thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So share a story about one of your recent or even past clients or borrowees of your equipment, and really how it made a significant change in their life.
Oh, well, thank you for asking. One of the things that I find that about our service that I didn't understand, I've been here almost 10 years now, but it took me a while to understand, okay, I need a piece of equipment because I want to stay independent or I want to recuperate in my home. That makes sense, right? Like, I need this thing to do whatever. What I didn't realize until I got much further into my career here was one of the best benefits of our service is how easy it is. Because everything, you know this better than just about anyone. The system we have here doesn't always function efficiently. you know, the healthcare system, everything seems hard. Yeah, right. Strange,
I
right?
think that's why I actually have a job most of the time.
I'm so grateful there are people like you that can help, and they're totally necessary. But even people that work with you, or you know, maybe even work in the, I mean, I have a board member who has been dealing with a loved one and just the challenges that they've had, and they are in the industry, like just kind of getting the right care. It's hard. So anyway, my point, I got sidetracked there, is the story that I'm thinking about right here is someone who was just sort of overwrought with, you know, doctor's appointments and scheduling surgery and figuring out where they were going to recuperate and how are they going to get transportation from point A to point B. Came in, 5-minute application, went home with the equipment they needed, and they were in tears because they were like, this is the easiest part of the process. Everything else has been hard. You have made this part, this little tiny thing in my journey has been made so much easier, and so thankful. So I would say, you know, it's not a sexy story, but I think it really gets to the heart of one of the things that makes what we do here at Convalescent AIDS Society so important is we help everything else sort of work, you know, and we're easy. And there's value in that.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. When you don't have to give up in getting something that's so essential to your healing. And I think this thing that's so sad or crazy within our American system is that we're really a sick care system versus a self-care or healing care system. And when we make things more challenging to get through processes or to age with dignity and the support that we need because we have equipment that's broken and Medicare won't cover something for another 5 years, you support that individual to make sure that they can still ambulate, or that their loved one, their caregiver, can use a wheelchair to push them, or that they can sleep comfortably in a hospital bed that's so important to be able to maybe be brought, you know, to have that function of being able to sit up more in a hospital bed or raise your legs, whatever the situation might be. And I'm so grateful that you do that. And I'm wondering, how many pieces of equipment do you loan out a year? But just as importantly, how many are you getting in?
Oh, that's a great question. Right now, we have over 30,000 pieces of equipment out on loan in this valley. And as I said earlier, the thought is that in the San Fernando Valley, once we're open there, we could potentially eclipse that amount. So in the next few years, it could be 50 or 60,000 pieces of equipment out on loan. We just finished our fiscal year, June 30th. We served 4,325 unique clients last year. And on average, people borrow about 2 pieces of equipment. You know, so we were probably around 10,000 pieces loaned out. I don't have the exact number here, but in the last couple of years, we've been between 10 and 12,000 pieces of equipment loaned out. And what we're seeing is that the pieces of equipment that we loan out are staying out longer. And I don't know if you have a thought on that, but it seems like, I mean, if I'm going to put a positive spin on it, I'm hoping that people are finding us earlier in the process and then being able to sort of age in place longer.
Sure.
That's my hope. That's my hope. I don't know that for a fact that that's the case, but on average, a piece of equipment will stay in someone's home for almost 2.5 years now. So, you know, you do get the people, oh, I just had knee replacement surgery. They need it for 6 weeks, blah, 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 blah. But there's also people on the other end of the spectrum where, you know, they have a piece for 10 years and it helps them get to church, or they go to the Arboretum, you know, they're just able to sort of have a normal, active, pretty independent life because of 1 or 2 pieces of free equipment.
Sure. Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. So, and we've talked a lot about how easy it is to rent or borrow the equipment. Tell me about the process as far as dropping it off or getting those pieces to you.
Well, Mary, it's even easier. You just swing by our office here in Pasadena Monday through Friday when we're open. You just pull up, don't even get out of your car, just say, I've got to return something. we'll yank it out of the car. We even have cool little receipt printing machines right now. So we'll just put the numbers into the system, print you out a little receipt that says you've returned it, and then we've taken it off your account and we won't bug you anymore. So it's pretty simple. It's even easier than borrowing equipment.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. So when you see people at a yard sale, or they're starting to clear their house out for a move or anything that way, if you see equipment in that house, you go ahead and give a call or reach out to Convalescent Aid Society and make sure
it's the tax deduction. I mean,
it
you
is.
can write it off. I mean, it's a donation. So
yeah, really nice. So what is the biggest drop off you've had from somebody as far as equipment? Can you remember? I know my brother came by with a bunch of stuff from my dad's house.
Yeah. I mean, I joke, sometimes people come with the platinum package. You know, they've got everything. They've got the hospital bed. They've got 2 wheelchairs. You know, they have maybe a multi-level house, and they've got equipment on each. You know, we've had U-Haul trucks come.
Really?
Stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Great.
I mean, one of the great things that's happened in the last couple of years here is we've done a much better job than we used to about getting the word out about, hey, we're here to accept donated items. So we actually can't even use all of the equipment that's donated to us.
Wow.
Because we just, in often case, we're sort of overrun with donated items, which allows us, on the good side, it allows us to be extremely selective on the pieces of equipment that we do keep and then loan out to our clients. So some of the stuff that we can't use, maybe it's slightly rusted, or it needs a weld or something that needs to be repaired, and we're just not going to do that. Our stuff goes down to Mexico. So we send thousands and thousands of pieces of equipment down to Mexico. So again, we're still using it. It's
recycled and
it's staying in service. You know, there's the environmental component. There's we're providing mobility assistance to a different community, but it's still, the equipment's still doing what it's designed to do. So yeah, we've been really good about that. We have a bunch of, we call them remote donation sites in the community here. So small businesses or something that will keep, or churches or whatever, that will keep a few pieces of equipment in a closet that their members or users or clients or whatever have brought in. And then they'll call us and say, hey, our closet's full. And we'll send a truck around and we'll go pick up everything. So we've done a good job.
Fantastic. Well, bringing Steve back on now. Please, everyone, contact Convalescent Aid Society, convalescentaidssociety.com, and they have their 100th celebration information there. You can sponsor, you can get tickets, and it sounds like Mark will work with you if you really want to come and you're not able to.
And drink our wine and eat our food. I mean,
there you go.
It's a pretty good deal.
And Mark's not going to MC.
And I'm not MCing. That's right. Exactly.
So, Steve, tell us, what is this day in sports history?
Sure. So the year was 1963. The location was...
That's a good year.
Is that a great year?
Yeah.
I wonder why. The location was Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Forbes Field to be exact. And on this day, 1963, the Alou brothers, they're baseball players from the Dominican Republic, played in the same outfield, in the same game, in the same inning. So they had Felipe Alou was the eldest of the brothers. He was 28 at the time. His brother Matty was 24, and younger brother Jesus was 21. Wow. And for 2 innings and a 13-5 San Francisco Giant victory over the Pittsburgh Pirates, they all shared the same outfield. So they all played in the outfield. 3 brothers, never happened before. Happened a couple of times that year, but it almost didn't happen. Felipe, actually, when he was coming up in the minors, was so distraught over the racism and just the challenges he faced as a player from the Dominican Republic that didn't speak a lot of English. Thought about quitting baseball and going back to the Dominican Republic, but he thought of this guy, Mr. Martinez, who recruited him. It was a scout that found him and believed in him. And he was about to get on a bus to go back home and decided not to, continued his baseball career. Played in the Major League Baseball from 1958 to 1974. So had a great year, great family. If you know baseball history, you know the Alou brothers. So they've been.
And his son, right? His son, Moises Alou. I'm a Cubs fan, so Moises Alou played for the Cubs in the 2000s. So, I mean, can you imagine?
I believe he used to coach the Mets.
Yeah.
right now. Yeah.
So I mean, think about the athleticism in that family.
Yes.
And
Right.
like,
Yeah.
how
Yes.
unfair that they got all of that. Like, I would have loved to have a little bit more of that. As a failed former college athlete, I would have loved to have more to some of that ability.
It's amazing to have a family that has that much athletic talent and then to bring it together in the same place.
It's very
Yes.
cool.
Just, I mean, everything just had to align. So yeah, so never happened before. Nice little, tidbit of history.
Sounds great. Well, I want to just really quickly just bring up some of these pictures with the Convalescent AIDS Society and their event where they're holding it over at Castle Green. Let me go
Mark,
ahead.
tell me the date of the event again, please.
October 29th. It's a
Okay.
Sunday afternoon before Halloween. Don't come dressed up though, please. Actually, you know what? If you want to come dressed up, that's fine. It's 4 p.m. Sunday afternoon till about 7. There'll be some really nice wine and drinks, and really good. As you said, Mary, like the food's usually pretty good there.
Yes.
So we try to do a nice job and throw in a good party, and we don't beat you over the head with a really long program where we just ramble on about stuff. Like, it's a very short.
No,
like,
you
we just
don't.
want-
It's really pleasant. So we
Yeah,
sponsor
yeah.
this.
It's a great venue.
That's really
I love that
nice.
venue.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Well,
We'll be
we
there.
appreciate that.
Sounds great. Well, everyone have a fantastic weekend. It's going to be a busy one for me. I hope you have lots of joy and some fun things that you have planned. So be safe, and we'll see you next week.
Sounds good. Have a good weekend, everyone.
All right.